few other items to cover before very detailed expose this week. I'm going to put some feet to the fire again. Dallas and Boston fed the Federal Reserve presidents Robert Kaplan, Eric Rosengren, I guess we know where they're from, both have had to resign this week after allegations of corrupt trading, and these men are alleged to have used their insider information from their positions at the banks to enrich themselves. No change there then. But they were buying single stocks like Pfizer and Chevron. Well, I never. Of course, all the gas prices have gone up again, and that's to feed their back pocket. And he said, we have strong reason to believe that they knew more than the average citizen about the financial health of these companies, and thanks to their role as presidents of their respective Federal Reserve banks. And whilst not admitting to the crimes, they both expressed regret for the appearance of conflicts of interest. The whole of the Fed is a conflict of interest to we the people. And someone said that they closed it down. We still wait. And he said, we are appalled at this level of behaviour from officials in the government. We've only just found out. Though unfortunately we can't say we're surprised. The reality is, morally corrupt people have been running the government and these banks for a long time now, and we all suffer because of it. And how can we trust the decisions of people in power to make economic policies that benefit our own individual financial interests? The sour truth is, we can't. Remember our piece on government services being ran not by the government, but private contractors. Hello, Serco. And a report's come out this week that taxpayers' money has been lost in a Westminster black hole, with the startling figure of $265 billion, pounds, not dollars, so that's about $300 billion a year, which is said to be unaccounted for after reviews are still yet to be undertaken. Beware the false flag to bury it, Britain. Remember 9/11? Now, bodies such as the British Council are quangos and are ultimately organisations that are funded by the taxpayers but not controlled directly by the central government. And the government in the UK has been asked to properly account for £265 billion that has been spent by quangos, which are non-departmental public bodies. Now, in the UK, the term quango refers to different arm's-length government bodies. Now, the US would call it NGOs, or ones that still remain partly controlled or financially backed by the government. And the new report has claimed that a review of the bodies responsible for spending £265 billion a year of taxpayers' money has not been completed. And the review has yet to be completed in full, with only a percentage said to have been reviewed, despite it being 5 years after it was promised to be undertaken. Told you about those government services. They're not government. Your government is not running the country's services. It's these quangos or NGOs, private goons. This is an official document from 1948 in Vienna, Austria, that contains the following. Allied Military Police Headquarters, Vienna, October the 1st, 1948. The Allied, take note of that, Allied Committee inquiry has to date proven that no poison gas was ever used to kill prisoners in the following concentration camps: Bergen-Belsen, Buchenwald, Dachau-Flossenburg, Gross-Rosen, Mauthausen, and satellite camps Natzweiler, Neuengamme, Niederhagen, Ravensbrück, Sachsenhausen, Stutthof, or Theresienstadt. Berger, Buchenwald, Flossenburg, and Rosen. All very Jewish names of camps, that. How odd is that? And it states on this document, in all cases where gases were alleged, it could be proven that torture had been used to extract confessions and witnesses had lied. So let's analyse this, shall we? And does it pass the common sense test? Why would so-called German Nazis, who were intent on covering up their crimes, then torture people into saying that they have done the said crimes? Does that make any sense? So what that tells you is it was the Jewish elites who ran these camps, as the names of the camps have proven, who tortured and experimented on their own so-called people, and then tortured them into saying they were gassed. And the report says any former inmate who during their debriefing continued to allege that poison gas was used to murder people, in particular Jews, are to be reported to this office, and if they insist on lying further, they are to be charged with perjury. Major Miller, Commanding Officer, Allied Military Police, Vienna. Who told those people to lie is the great question, and why? I know for a fact there was never any evidence of gas lines into the camps found. And the gas that they say they used, Zyklon B, produces a clear blue staining on the walls after use. A clear blue staining on the walls after use. Remember, this is a time when there was not so much colours of paint, it was whitewash, or that green paint. Zyklon B comes up as blue on the walls, and you can't get rid of it. We are told thousands were gassed, and yet there was no blue walls with residue of Zyklon B has ever been found. We mentioned Duke University before, and perhaps they should pull their children out, because they clearly don't know anything about common sense. And here's what this university is up to. Just when you think you've heard everything, up pops some other way of invading your privacy. And for the past 10 years, Sonia Grigo has been thinking about toilets, and more specifically, what we deposit into them. And she said, we are laser focused on the analysis of stools, says the Duke University research professor, with all the unself-consciousness of someone used to talking about bodily functions. And she said, we think there's an incredible untapped opportunity for health data. And this information is not tapped because of the universal aversion to having anything to do with your own stool. I bet she's fun at parties. What do you do for a living? I study turds. Really? And as the co-founder of Coprata, Grego is working on a toilet that uses sensors and artificial intelligence to analyse waste, and she hopes to have an early model for a pilot study ready within 9 months. And a toilet that you have in your home has not functionally changed in its design, she said, since it was first introduced in the second half of the 19th century. And she said, there are, of course, now loos with genital washing capabilities or heated seats, but this is basic compared to what Grego is envisaging. And she said, in all other aspects of your life, your electricity, your communication, even your doorbell have enhanced capabilities, which means spying. And the smart toilet's time has come. Oh dear, the smart toilet now. And it's potentially huge market in the developed world, and everyone who is able to use a toilet multiple times a day. Only problem with that is 2.3 billion around the world don't have a toilet. And yet again, they're using what is the cancer of society, data and marketing. Snake oil people. Grego adds that she can certainly envision a world in which a toilet that does more than flush excreta is available to every household, and there are numerous companies working on bringing that to the market. And smart toilet innovators believe the loo could become the ultimate health monitoring tool. Is that tool or is it stool? And believes her product, which analyses and tracks stool samples and sends the data to an app. Oh my God. We've got an app for having a shit now. Seriously. And will provide information related to cancer and many other chronic diseases. And for general consumers, it will provide peace of mind, she says, by establishing a healthy baseline. And having technology that tracks what is normal for an individual could provide an early warning that a checkup is needed. To go and speak to a so-called expert doctor who doesn't know what he's talking about. I think not. And for people with specific conditions such as inflammatory bowel disease, the device could provide helpful monitoring for doctors. The classic fear-based tactic they use to essentially follow, track and spy on us all from every angle, it seems. And she said it's very difficult to know when to escalate or de-escalate treatment, and stool-based biomarkers can provide that information. At some point, she thinks a smart toilet could make lifestyle suggestions. It could tell you to eat more fibre or certain nutrients. I'll eat what I like, thank you. And for instance, or work out what kind of food triggered an uncomfortable gastric episode. Just what we needed. Something else to monitor us and tell us what to do. Really. The science of nutrition is really moving in the direction of personalized nutrition, she says. Our technology will be an enabler, nice wording, of this, because you have the information of what you eat, but we can make seamless the obtaining of information of what comes out. What comes out is like this idea. Utter shit. Sorry. Is this evidence of people disappearing? Time will tell. Singapore's population has shrank by a record 4.1% year over year. And they say it's because its borders remain largely restricted to foreign travel. They are visitors, they are not residents. And it's the biggest fall on record in bookkeeping going back to 1950, according to data from the country's Department of Statistics. And the decline is driven largely by a 10.7% decrease in its non-resident population, who are mostly foreign workers who aren't permanent residents and students. As travel curbs coupled with a slowing economy and a tightened stance towards employing foreign labour, that's the excuses. And Singapore's population is now 5.45 million as of the end of June, and it's the lowest it's been since 2013. This type of story is what's wrong with the world. And we the people have to take some responsibility for this as well. But it's just staggering, the stupidity and injustice behind it all. Medical, media and bankers people committing acts against humanity, agency, military and politicians also. And zero accountability, it seems, for those groups. And yet, this past week, a homeless man underpays for a soda by 43 cents and is going to jail for 7 years. And this is what is wrong with this world and the injustice and inequality of it all. A Pennsylvania man, I don't know what state that's from, was jailed last month and charged with a felony after allegedly underpaying for a bottle of Mountain Dew by 43 cents, which technically never. And a penalty due largely in part to the state's 3 strikes law. Now, Joseph Sobolewski walked into a convenience store in Perry County where there was a special for the 20-ounce Mountain Dew bottles of 2 for $3, which just means it's $1.50 each. Now, Joseph took one bottle and put $2 on the counter and walked out. The store called the police and he was arrested. And Joseph may not have known was that a single bottle of Mountain Dew cost $2.29, not $1.50. And they say they shorted the store by 43 cents, or 29 cents for the bottle plus tax. And he's been held on a $50,000 bond and faces up to 7 years in prison for that. Find out who the owner of that store is and boycott it. We don't need these control freaks, non-common sense people in our communities. Now, Sobolewski, who is 38, who is homeless, has several convictions for other minor crimes and is being charged under the state's 3 strikes law for retail theft, according to the news outlet. Now, his first offence was involved for him not paying for gas, which was more than a decade ago. And in December 2011, not 2021 or 2020, 10 years ago, he was arrested for stealing a pair of shoes from Kmart that cost $40. And for that crime, the idiots in the justice system asked him to pay $866 in fines and fees and was sentenced to 3 months in jail. How and why would you charge a homeless man $866 in fines because he couldn't afford a pair of shoes? And this is a lack of caring, not only by the system, but we the people as well, and we have to stop it. All the crimes being committed by so-called famous people, and someone goes to jail for 7 years over a 43-cent bottle of soda. How about addressing, why haven't they addressed over the last 10 years in Pennsylvania why the man's homeless to begin with? Why isn't he being given a place to stay? That's the real problem. This is a series of questions that were sent in by one of the members, so I decided to answer them. Was Marduk removed on agreement with the Universal Council? Correct. Who had the idea to remove him? Kim and the team. Will there be any new agreement or agreement soon with the Universal Council for them to do something to help us? Well, technically that would be operational. But that type of question is also lurching towards a saviour programme again. We have to help ourselves first. Otherwise it becomes another parent and child situation. And that's what we're doing with the TPC. 13 covens that are life sorcerers that control the jinns and the Dreamtime dark magicians. Correct. But the last count, those covens were down to 2 and possibly none. But individuals will still play, but at a much reduced vigour and with more exposure. Courtesy of the Day of Svarog. Has the covens, or are they Cohens, similar in nature and quite possibly another play on words by changing a consonant instead of a vowel to L? Have they lost their power now when the power structure that was above them is now gone? Yes, mainly, although individual and much smaller groups can still play. Is it still business as usual and them just following the old script? No, it's not business as usual due to much reduced numbers, but yes, they follow the now failed old script and wonder why it doesn't work too well or not at all. One day they'll realise that. Are all the top-end controllers now gone? Basically, yes. Although other power-hungry clowns think they can fill the void. But not too well, as they have found out. Are the black nobility now infiltrated, intermarried or whatever by the Rothschilds and or the Order of the Black Sun? They were part of both groups over time. Are secret societies the driving force in the corona race? In some cases, yes. More supporting evidence for our From Russia with Love series, and the University of Bristol in the UK has just fired Professor David Miller, who is a leading UK critic of Israel and its lobby. And the Support David Miller campaign responded that the university was sending a message that it will protect racists and that Muslims, black students and Palestinians are not welcome at Bristol. And in a statement sent to the Electronic Intifada, the campaign said that the university's decision was designed to send a chill down the spines of academics around the world who expose Zionist racism. That's what they do. And the campaign said that Miller's sacking had come after a pressure campaign by Israel's assets in the UK and accused the university of collaborating with the Israel lobby. Now, at the start of 2021, pro-Israel lobby groups ramped up their campaign against him, and these included the Board of Deputies of British Jews, the Zionist Federation, the Jewish Labour Movement, and the Community Security Trust. And at the end of February, Israel itself also got involved, mobilising one of its online troll armies to flood social media conversations with calls for Miller to be fired. Now these online troll armies, are far more common than people think. And some of it is an army of bots, computer bots in most cases, designed to stir up trouble on sites and deflect from the narrative. And don't think this is recent. This was going on in the early 2000s using Israeli trolls. I exposed it in undisclosed TV site. They were doing the same thing, and they deleted the whole blog and created Disclosed TV 2, and I was banned from it. Not a surprise, because I exposed who were the Israeli agents operating out of Debka. Now, ACT.IL. IL is the code for Israel, ill being the operative word, as in sick, which is directed and funded by an Israeli ministry, issued a mission calling for attacks on an opinion piece published by Al Jazeera, which was defending Miller. It's nice to see so many more now seeing who the real problem is. It's not communists, German Nazis, white supremacists, fascists. It was the Hebrew Anunnaki all along. With their anti-Aryan campaign and anti-Semitic guilt and shame programming, well, guess what? It's breaking down rapidly now. TikTok. Here's a song for all of the members, and I want to say thanks to you all.